people who set it up did their job well because it was supposed to be classified from the very beginning. Anything that gets over 60 years old tends to break down. And then you have one incident, and it's remembered in the history books forever. We have a real failure to communicate between the government, the Department of Justice, the NRC, and the watchdog groups and the citizens who have to live there.
Well, why shouldn't we?
You shouldn't.
Why?
You can't.
Why?
Because a lot of the things that happened were classified, and therefore they're things they're not just never going to tell you.
Stief zeigt dem Historiker Paul DeRienzo ein paar Fundstücke.
357 Magnum.
Eine Kaliber 57 Magnum.
Die Kugel steckt noch im Lauf.
And a 9mm.
Und ein 9 mm Revolver mit Handschellen.
Refugees from Germany who had come to the United States therefore believed that Germany might actually be able to produce a bomb before the United States could.
Author and journalist Paul DeRienzo says Amnesty's assessment of aspects of U.S. foreign policy are right on target.
The United States, while quick to condemn other countries for their violations, gloss over what was happening in places like Egypt and Tunisia.
Egypt is a in many ways, very westernized country, but in many other ways also a very traditional country, and these type of divisions and splits are coming out.
Do you agree that this is a good step?
Of course, it's a step that was a long time in coming. The reactor has been in operation since 1969. As one activist said, it's sort of like driving a 1960s car when everybody's zipping around in Teslas today. It was really sold to them as a great technological achievement and not as a destructive weapon, and they didn't know until much later.
It's got to go someplace anyway.
Yes.
So why not just store it where it is?
Right, that's what they don't want to do. That's what the public doesn't want to have happen. Transuranic waste is supposed to go to the waste isolation pilot plant in southeastern New Mexico. It would be trucked down there and buried about 2,500 feet under the ground in a salt mine. That salt mine has already had tremendous accidents. There was a drum of waste from Los Alamos that was improperly packed and exploded. At that point, there was a desire to drop the bomb either as to send a message to the Soviet Union at that time, which was the other victor in the war and would soon be involved with the U.S. in the Cold War. It was the most expensive project ever undertaken in American history. Billions of dollars in today's money was spent, and there might have been an investigation that this was some sort of boondoggle.
And defeating Donald Trump is like totally ridiculously necessary to keep democracy healthy in the United States, and that ain't enough. Believe me, without people in the streets, all the democracy in the world is useless, all right? We need more than just voting. Voting is just literally the minimal, and it's not enough. It's a situation where the minimal is just not enough, okay? So you gotta do more than just vote. You have to turn out. Now, if tonight it looks like Donald Trump is going to win, or if it's going to be so tight, then I would suggest that people get on the internet, get on the horn to their friends, and find out where the nearest protest is going to be, and get out there and peacefully protest, all right? Show yourself. Now, if it's a blowout for Biden, so the reason you want to go do that is because we know what Trump's going to do. He's made it clear what the next 4 years are going to be about. They're going to be further. They're going to further attack so-called sanctuary cities like New York, right? They're going to further reduce our funding, and they're further going to marginalize the urban centers of America that don't go along with them. Okay, and that's going to cause real pain. And then they're going to totally eliminate any sort of medical science-based approach to COVID. So forget about the masks, forget about, and here I go, right? Forget about the masks, forget about anything else but like taking steroids like our dear president. Forget it. So what are we looking at? Donald Trump has either been reelected, he's fighting for his life politically, or he has totally been defeated with no questions asked by Joe Biden. All three of those lead to a different outcome in a way, but there's something that links all of them. We have to learn from our experience. We must learn from the experience of the last 4 years. We can't repeat this again because there's going to be Donald Trump 2.0 coming down, right? And it's going to be somebody smoother than him, somebody slicker than him, somebody harder to put their finger on, somebody who doesn't stick his foot in his mouth so much. Now, whether somebody like that could get the same kind of support from what I've been told are the three basic groups of people who support Donald Trump, right? Number one, people who know nothing and have no knowledge of what's going on politically in the world and have no knowledge of really what Trump's about and just support him because he's a celebrity or they heard his name before. That's the largest group. Those people who somehow feel liberated to be public and openly racist in their terminology and words and what have you, who think, well, somehow there was a abridgment of their freedom of speech, that they couldn't call people filthy names or demean them or, and somehow this Donald Trump has liberated their freedom. Or the third group, the smallest group, and maybe the most sinister of all, the people who, the business interests who don't really care about Donald Trump or his followers or what he believes, but see this as an opportunity to cash in and make money. All right. Now, all three of those groups are still going to be around. The larger group of people who don't know anything and don't know what's going on, all right, they might be unreachable. It might be somebody's great-great-grandmother or somebody in front of a TV all the time. They get all their information from very limited sources, and it's going to be difficult to change them. And I don't think you should even try and change them. All right, there's always going to be some percentage of people who are totally, like, out of the loop, right? And they're going to do whatever they're going to do. All right, then you have the people who are openly racist. I think we have to redouble our efforts to make it unacceptable to be publicly racist. I think that the whole idea of political correctness being like a negative impact on free speech is we have to understand now the necessity of putting an end to public utterances of racial discrimination. Because that is what. When you allow it to happen in one place, it spreads like a virus, and we know all about spreading viruses, right? So quickly. We have to put an end to it now. I mean, I don't care what people do in their own home. I can't control that. But I think in the public discourse, it should put an end to it. I mean, Germany did that. I don't say we should follow the German methodology. This is a very different country. But, in Germany, they made all expressions of fascist or Nazi utterances, philosophies, images, GIFs, whatever you call it, memes, were totally and completely, utterly outlawed. All right? And you can't do it anywhere. It has not stopped the regrowth of fascism in Germany. We see evidence of it every day. But it definitely retarded its growth. And in that way, it's probably very important to do that and to send a message. The other side is always keen to send messages. Here's our message, right? All people are to be respected. All people are equal. All people are humanity, are human beings who should not be dehumanized. All right? Because dehumanization, like Trump does, when he started with the dehumanization by, he'd started many years before with the Central Park Five, but in this campaign cycle, in the last campaign cycle in 2016 and 2015, when he started it, right, by attacking Mexican immigrants, people from Mexico who aren't, mostly Central America really, calling them all Mexican immigrants, calling them rapists and killers and all those kind of things, that dehumanization of people, who are trying to just better their lives or escape repression in their countries in Central America. That was the beginning of it, and his attacks on immigration have nothing to do with immigration and everything about dehumanizing people, and as such, that opened up this whole Pandora's box of dehumanization. And Nazi Germany, it wasn't long before they were murdering disabled people, and what his mockery of disabled people, Trump's mockery of disabled people, is frightening because it parallels exactly what happened under Hitler in Nazi Germany. So we have to be very careful about that. Allowing that to happen in our society. It must be confronted. We may not be able to ban speech in this country, but we can sure as hell confront it and make sure that it doesn't get a free pass in our society. It never should, okay? So that's good. Fight it tooth and nail. That's second group. Now, here we have getting back to the more insidious group, right? The insidious ones are these people who are just in it to make money off of it. And you can see that. I think Steve Bannon is a good example of that, right? Because what did Steve Bannon do? So Steve Bannon is, allegedly under indictment. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but there was plenty of witnesses, and I talked to witnesses. Okay, down there at the border, at the Rio Grande, at the sort of like the southeastern end of the Rio Grande where it runs into the Gulf of Mexico, he got together with this We Build the Wall group with two of his buddies, and they raised money through direct donations from Trump supporters who wanted to build the wall, and they started to build this phony wall, right? The people in the area laughed because they built it right along the edge of the river, and anybody who lived there knows that the river floods. So the first flood, the first springtime, would bring the wall straight down. You're supposed to put the wall back from the river, not on the edge of the river. And they saw it going up around the edge of the river. They know these people weren't serious. So it looks like, anyway, as far as we can see, that Steve Bannon was a ripoff artist, right? He was investing in this phony business, and he was getting people to invest in this phony business to make donations that were supposed to go to building the wall, and then he and his friends were living off of the donations. Okay, that's a simple scam. All right, that's the type of scam that we're looking at with this more insidious group, and I think we have to look at Bannon and his buddies as a good example of that. At least if the charges are upheld and he is convicted and not pardoned or commuted by Donald Trump. By the way, I think the other I'm trying to think of his name, the little short guy with the Nixon tattoo on his back, Roger Stone, right? He's another one who has used this as a way to enrich himself. Who knows what he's involved in? We'll soon see, right? Because even though he was found not guilty, or no, he wasn't found. He was actually convicted. Pardon me. Pardon my misstatement. He was convicted of 7 felonies, and then he wasn't even pardoned. He was commuted, right, to a time served or whatever, to no sentence at all. So he did it. He admits he did it pretty much by being commuted. You have to almost admit you did it, and the whole idea is to rub it in people's faces that he could get away with that. So he's profited, because I don't know what he was doing that led to him telling all these lies. Then you have Rudy Giuliani going out to the Ukraine, a country whose government is beset by corruption, and being involved with people like Lev Parnas and Furness and the rest of these people who we don't know what they were up to. It's still coming out. He seems to be hunting around after Hunter Biden, but as usual, there's nothing on Hunter Biden, but there's plenty on Giuliani and his friends, right? And a lot of them are facing making hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations illegally to Trump's campaign, and we don't know what kind of kickbacks or other funny business was involved in all of that. So, and then there was all this investment in gas pipelines and things like that, and the criminal oil industry that they claim Hunter Biden's part of, but they don't really have any evidence against Hunter Biden except the found hard drives, right? That his friend found, right? So it's untrustworthy source of information. That's why nobody's been covering it. I mean, Giuliani has too much at stake himself. He could be facing indictment himself for all we know. So, okay, there's Rudy Giuliani and his friends profiting, Roger Stone profiting, Steve Bannon profiting. Who else is profiting from this? It's interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are from Donald Trump's machinations. And a lot of people don't really care about the politics one way or the other, but see this as a way that they can profit off of him. So that in that way, even we're speaking now a week after the election, even if Donald Trump loses, he's still going to be liable. As far as we know, we don't know everything that happens in the days after the election, but he's still going to be liable to prosecution. Even if he's pardoned if he steps down and allows the next guy up to pardon him, if Biden stabs us in the back and pardons him, down the line, it doesn't matter. He's still open to state charges, right, for all these things. And there's a heavy-duty tax evasion investigation going on right now in Cyrus Vance's office here in Manhattan, in the Manhattan DA. So that's not going on. Letitia James. This is not going away. All right, there's plenty of investigations, and Donald Trump is going to be dogged by investigations by the media and the prosecutors, federal and state, and from multiple states for the rest of his miserable life. So he has that to look forward to, going to court. He'll know his lawyers well. He'll get to know a lot of lawyers, a lot of courthouses, unless he finds a way out of it. Being Teflon Don, maybe he'll figure out a way to do it. But right now, it looks bad for him. Okay, so Donald Trump is haunted for the rest of his life, haunted and hunted, not by Hunter Biden, but by journalists like myself and by other people who want to find out the truth about what was behind the rise to power of this megalomaniac who took the world to the brink, and made it respectable to be a Nazi again. Okay, we have to deal with that. And we're going to wind up here in the last few minutes. I had an opportunity back in October to go down to Joe Biden's home in Delaware, right outside of Wilmington, and I went there with Dana Beal and a bunch of other people and went to deliver a message, because Hunter Biden has an interesting character, because the thing that's important about Hunter Biden isn't that Hunter Biden went to Ukraine, but that Hunter Biden went to Mexico. And he went to Tijuana, or he went somewhere in Mexico, and he got the ibogaine treatment, ibogaine, the rainforest, the shrub, the root bark of a shrub that grows in Africa called iboga, that gives this alkaloid called ibogaine, which is a coming of age, a drug that's used in the coming of age in the African religion of Bwiti, and has been found to interrupt the cravings for narcotics and other drugs, including alcohol. And Hunter Biden, according to New Yorker magazine, went down to Africa and took the ibogaine treatment, and then went and did some Vedic meditation in order to deal with his cravings for alcohol and other drugs. And I think that is really the story of Hunter Biden, and that's what led Dana and his friends and me to follow along down to Hunter Biden's staid and stately address in outside of Wilmington. And then we went to his church, right, which is very interesting, Brandywine, and met the Secret Service. They were very nice. They let us stay. They saw we were a nice bunch of people, and we warned them. We told them we're going to be down there, or they did. They warned them that they were going to be down there, and to continue these kind of protests if Biden is elected. So we have to look ahead towards how we're going to protest for progressive change in the drug laws, in access to treatment, in dealing with the Sacklers. And here's the last thing I want to tell you. Go to the Met. Download Mariah. I'm going to do a story about this. Mariah. It's an app, Apple Store. Download Mariah. Go to the Sackler wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Fire up that app and look around and learn about Mariah Lottie, a 19-year-old woman who died of an overdose of OxyContin made by the Sackler family's companies, Purdue Pharma, and learn about it there, branded on their beautiful Sackler Wing, Temple of Dandur, and many other locations within the Egyptian wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And we're going to be talking more about that in the future. So that, I want you to do that. Go, it's free. Nothing costs a penny. It's all free. This is done by folks who lost loved ones due to OxyContin as a protest, in which they are using basically a Pokemon Go sort of thing, a augmented reality, to brand the space with the story of a victim of the Sacklers' use of OxyContin, pushing of OxyContin through doctors to thousands of people. And millions of people, and of course tens of thousands died. Hundreds of thousands, 300,000 just from OxyContin, 450,000 in the last 10 years just from all the opioids, 300,000 from synthetic opioids, which about 2/3 are OxyContin. So it couldn't happen to nicer people. Now the Met won't take their name off the wings, So Sackler family, big, Arthur Sackler, big donator to the museum, but it was hacked through this app. And we're going to be talking more about this in future shows. So I'm not sure how long I have to go here, another minute or two, but I want to make sure that folks go to my website, paulderienzo.com, Paul, D-E-R-I-E-N-Z-O, Paul, D-E-R-I-E-N-Z-O.com. And I'm going to be putting out a newsletter. You'll be hearing more about that newsletter in future shows, get more information about what reporting I'm doing. And you can also go to WBAI Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. and listen to the WBAI news, where I work very hard in trying to present an alternative view of the facts. Not alternative facts, but alternative view of the facts. That's what WBAI does, and we do it for you. And we do it here at MNN, my show, which is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Let them talk. And we'll be letting you talk as we come to grips with this COVID pandemic and how we're going to live under these circumstances. All right? So that said, thanks for joining us. It's been great to be here back again on MNN, and I can't wait to continue this weekly program every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Take care. Stay safe.
You out here, but y'all are out here not for the gram. You're not here for the pictures or the shits. When the police come, don't come out here if you got short shorts on or skinny jeans on. Because when you get locked up, you're the one that's thrown to the ground with bruises and battered up. Come out here for war. Hell yeah. I will never advocate that when we come in peace, you give us violence. That's not American. They took this country through violence, and they're asking us for peace. You give peace, we get peace. Right. You don't come out here to say no peace or no justice, no peace. And you're on the street showing justice. You're on the street showing peace. Don't come on the streets, on the sidewalks and say, whose streets? But you're on the sidewalk. Get on the streets and say, whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets? Let's take the fear out of this, though. Because the reason you don't want to go on the streets is because you fear what's going to happen, the consequence. Well, we already seen the consequence if you stand up with your hands up. Ask for Marley Graham if he was still here. Or Kai Gurley if they were still here. Or Eric Gardner if he was still here. For all the names that you didn't hear of. No justice. No peace. When we're in the streets, let's take the fear out of it. You're going to get a jaywalking charge. You're going to get distracting the public or disturbing the peace. These are violations. Don't be scared of a violation. When they're violating our black lives. Come on now. I get locked up every time I come to these streets. It's not that I want to, but when they come for me, I'm geared up. I got my bulletproof vest ready. I got my gear ready. And I'm not going to take just going down just because you want to punch me in the face. But when I get in the jail, organize in the jail. Organize in the jail. Organize in the jail. When you're in jail and you're quiet because you want to go home, fuck that. Give them hell. Every hour that you're in there, organize with your fellow borough comrades. When you're in the jail, give them hell. Kick those jail cells. What are they going to give you? What's the charge they're going to give you? Nothing. So don't be scared, especially if you're in cuffs. Because when you're in cuffs and in that jail, in that cell, you got nothing but leaders with you, because they're only locking up the leaders. So you're a leader. You're a leader. You're a leader. You're a leader. We're all leaders. My brother Khalid Browder didn't die for him to die in vain. My brother Khalid Browder did not die in vain. And neither did any other people's names. Our families went through turmoil, and I'm glad that y'all here with us. For everyone that you're here for, please stay with us and continue to march, continue to fight with your lives.